Before I call it to order, Brett, would you like to take the vote?
Yes, I would, thank you. Let's pray together if we would, please. Precious Father, we thank you so much for your amazing love for us. Father, we thank you for the town we get to live in, for the schools that we have, for this Board of Education that keeps it going, and all of our administrators and teachers and our great students. Father, let this meeting tonight get done what it needs to keep us going in the right direction. We ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Call the meeting to order at 7:09. I'll let Christie do the roll call.
Keith Moyer.
Here.
Giovanna Ross. Here. Jim Schlichting.
Here.
Randy McLean.
Here.
James is absent. Jason Brown.
Here.
And Terry Honeycutt. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. If everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So we have some new board members, if you guys haven't noticed, Terry and Jason. I'm going to let them do the honors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'll do it. We'll help you.
Yep. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
For a second? Second. Thanks, Jim. Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor? Is that everyone? There's recognitions.
We do have a few recognitions. I'd like to start and welcome Jason and Terry to our board, and we also want to thank, even though they're not here, Todd Blancett and Tamara Kirk for their service on the board the past few years, and Todd stepped in when we had a hold just to finish out a term, so we're appreciative of that. So welcome, and thank you for deciding to serve our school and our community. We're glad to have you guys. Real quick, before I turn over to Mr. Salmon to recognize all these students, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Salmon. Even though we put it all over Facebook, he was voted and recognized as being Greater Kansas City Principal of the Year, so we're really proud of him. Thank you. We'll let you introduce your students.
Much better topic than that. So we've got the top 10 seniors for the graduating class of 2023. If you all would just kind of stand here in front, right here in front, so that they can all see you. Okay? No particular order. This way. We got 9 out of the 10 here. So throw a hand up when I call your name so that everybody knows, if you would, please. So, top 10 seniors: Allie Dickey, Mercedes Rissler, Molly Salmon, Jacob Backus, Xavier Hampton, Asher Holly, Kian McCann, Jake Wood is the one who's not here, our salutatorian this year, Matthew Gorsline, and our valedictorian this year, Kathleen Hudson. So, I'm going to do some bragging here for just a second. Obviously, as the top 10 of the senior class, they're scholars, we all know that. But amongst this group, we also have leaders, we have musicians, both vocal and instrumental, we have athletes, we have competitors, we have thespians. Well-rounded group at the top of our senior class this year. All of them that stand before you have a higher than 4.0 GPA because of the course load that they've taken across the time they've been in school. Our average ACT score among these 10 is 28.5, including 4 Bright Flight scholars, Allie, Xavier, Matthew, and Jacob. Bright Flight is 30 or higher on the ACT. We have 31 advanced ACT scores, EOC scores. We have 11 qualifying AP scores, including 8 5s. And we have the potential of 3 more because we have those students taking tests at the end of this school year as well. Out of roughly 300 courses that they have taken, only 32 A- grades. That's almost 90% straight A in the courses that they've taken. Now, some individual and groups here. We recognized Jacob and Matthew earlier this school year. Jacob is a National Merit finalist. and Matthew is a National Merit Commended student. We have students who are academic all-conference in sports: Mercedes, Molly, Jake, Matthew, and Jacob. Molly is also academic all-state in softball. We have district and state music solos, those who have earned exemplary scores, which is the highest: Kathleen, Molly, and Jacob. Jacob was also all-state choir. Kathleen was honorable mention all-state band. We have state and national speech and debate qualifier. Allie qualified in state this year and is a two-time national qualifier in state in speech and debate. I have several members of our Scholar Bowl standing before you who are not only MRVC champions, but also this weekend earned a district championship as well. And they also qualified for a national tournament this year. Allie, Kathleen, Jacob, and Kian are all members of that. We have some who qualified for the state National History Day competition. Allie, Kathleen, Molly, Matthew, Kian, and Jacob. Many of them are members of our One Act that was MRVC champions this year and also a state qualifier, and that competition will take place this week, so hopefully we bring back a state championship there. Let's see, Allie, Jacob, and Asher. Asher was also our top actor in the conference, and Jake was also a part of that. And may have seen in the paper recently, Jacob was named one of the top 100 seniors in the entire state of Missouri through the Missouri Scholars 100 program. I anticipate several scholarships and various awards for this group of students as their high school career closes over the next month. So what I would like for you to do now is just down the line tell us what your plans are after high school graduation, and if that is college, tell us what you're also majoring in or plan to.
So, I'm planning on going to Mizzou and probably going into computer science, or I'm also thinking about chemical engineering, but either one of those.
Fantastic.
I am going into business administration at the University of Missouri Kansas City. So
I'll be doing international relations and foreign language.
I'm going to Avila and I'm going to major in elementary education and business.
I'm going to UMKC and I plan to get my doctorate for dermatology.
I'm going to Missouri S&T and I'm going to major in aerospace engineering.
I'm either going to go to Mizzou or Dartmouth and major in computer science.
I'm going to be going to Mizzou and I'm going to major in computer science.
I'm going to William Jewell and doing their Oxbridge Honors Program to double major in political science and philosophy.
So as you can tell, they've got some lofty plans and goals ahead of them as they graduate here. So huge congratulations to all of them on their accomplishments and their accolades, and we wish them nothing but the best to round out the senior year. Looking toward graduation on May 13th.
And some second and third generation OGHS grads among the students.
Awesome.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thanks for being here and letting me brag on you a little bit.
Yes. Thanks for making Oak Grove.
And I'm sure that what I have mentioned is only the tip of the iceberg for what they've done across 4 years. So we certainly appreciate their time at OGHS, and we'll miss them all.
Yeah. We've also got some Eagle Scouts, Girl Scout Gold Award in there.
Well, yeah, this doesn't even mention what
Yeah.
they do outside
Right.
of the school, for sure.
It's impressive.
You guys rock.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to the parents and grandparents and everybody else who supports
Absolutely.
throughout the time. It's important, too. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that part.
Yep. I'm ready my chair up and it sinks.
Ed Rissler?
What? James Rissler? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, haven't seen a barber in a while either.
Well, and that says a lot about not only our district, but our kids, but our parents, and also our teachers. It's always nice. It's nice to see where our kids are going.
Exciting.
I like parties in the hall.
Yeah.
Around the spot.
Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Thanks, Jason. A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? That's everyone. And we have some action items. The budget revision number 3.
We do. Shelley's got some information for us, so just this time of the year, we may have one more before the actual end, we'll see. But the budget's fluid, so as we have things that are changing, we just want to make sure we bring those up and keep that revisions going so that we're up to date.
Yes, and I've tried to keep the same format as I've had. Hopefully that works for you. Really, there's not a whole lot on the revenue side, although there is a quite substantial amount of revenue. A lot of that is just linked to, some of it is levy related, just how I did not in the beginning get the levy assessed or entered correctly for some of these, so that's just kind of fine tuning for me, something that I'm working on learning. So you'll see down towards the bottom, the state assessed utilities, that's where a big chunk of this is. We're 117,000, just me getting those numbers correctly. Just some increased revenue on the Medicaid side. A lot of that has to do with they're now doing a year-end cost data report, so that's given us some increased revenue. So that's kind of nice, about 56,000 over the last couple of different years. So that's kind of good to have. So unless there's any questions on the revenue side, I'll move to the expense side. And a lot of these are just tied to different things that I've just kind of been diving into a little bit more as we've had the Navitas piece. I kind of, after we've kind of wrapped some of that up, I did a 5-year utility review just to kind of see where we were, how in line where we were. We'd just been carrying over the numbers for the last couple of years, so I just really kind of wanted to make sure we were accurate in those. So that's a huge chunk of the decreases that you'll see, which allowed us to kind of give some of the things that we did to the paras in December. So these are revisions that have happened over the last 3 months, but that was a piece of it, is cleaning those up. We had some, there is some new codes related to curriculum writing. That's something that Mr. Huffington is going to be doing this summer, so that was on there, as well as some of the SPED budget revisions that is tied to the paraprofessionals that we did. So really, it's kind of nice. We have more revenue coming in than the expenses that we've added, so that was kind of a good thing. Yeah, so it's happy to see that. So, is there any questions on anything that you see?
Appreciate the summary because all the lines are.
Yes, it gets overwhelming. That's why if you want a different format, I can fine tune it a little bit more. Yeah, but I kind of like to see all the line items because then you can kind of really identify where the changes are. So, thanks.
Thank you, Shelley. Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve the 2023-24 budget revision number 3 as presented.
Joanne?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. I had a motion and a second. All in favor? It's everyone. We have the 23-24 preliminary budget, number 2.
Number 2. So as you look at that, I kind of did a summary as well on this, but then put that link in there if you ever wanted to look at the full budget. So again, we rolled over last month just all of our expenditures, other than looking at salaries and expenditures that we knew that were going to change or increase. Last month we did certified salaries, so this month we're looking at classified salaries. And I'm trying to paint the worst picture possible. So that's why I put it in there, what we're looking at with our revenues and our expenditures, and that's assuming no increase. But we know it's a reassessment year, and we already got our preliminary from Jackson County showing a 10% increase in assessed evaluation, so we're anticipating about a $496,000 increase in revenues. So this isn't calculating that in there. So when you see that negative red number, it's a little panicky and it's a little concerning, but that's without us calculating the increase of revenue that we're expecting. So this preliminary budget number 2 really is focusing most on our non-certified staffs. So this budget includes a step for all of those non-certified classified staff. It moves our custodial staff to 12 months instead of 9 months. So currently they're on 9 months and then summer. So a couple of issues with that is they don't have to take the summer. So we don't always know and who all's gonna be here in summer. And then those that do take the summer, when they're here, there's no parameters around leave, there's no parameters, that's just kind of that temporary help. So making them 12 months does give them vacation days, but it allows us to plan a little bit easier and better as well. Trying to move all of them to 12 months is more beneficial for us as well as them. This is giving a 75-cent an hour raise to all classified staff, which on our hourly is our custodial and our paras. And then that 2.86 increase is that averaged increase, and that goes on to all of our secretarial and our maintenance positions. So that alone, the step and the hourly increase is $338,000. So last month, with the certified increase, and if this is approved for the non-certified increase, this board is dedicating $540,000 to our staff salaries for next year, which I know is an area that we've shared in a philosophy that we need to continue to try to do. We also shared in our CSIP that we've got to be competitive in our salaries as well as any benefits that we can provide our staff. So all in all, I think it's aggressive, but it's aggressive still painting the worst picture so that we can stay within our budgetary means.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Did you calculate this at the state funding, full funding transportation of 75%?
We kept it the same as this year. Mhm. Yeah.
And that's still on track, isn't it? It's not
Yes, that's still on track.
I mean, 75,000 isn't very much as a, even if
Even if
things
it was.
stay the same. So are we able to do a deficit budget, or do you have to have a completely balanced budget? That's
See, we were able to do a deficit, we have the deficit. Mhm.
just curious. That's great.
Yeah.
I have a, looking at just the preliminary budget numbers, there's, in some of the columns between the proposed in March and April, there's a big shift in numbers, for example, around parents as teachers. Like in the March, it showed as, oh gosh, let me find it again.
You mean revenues or expenses?
The revenues, like 757, and then in April it shows us 10,380. Is that because of just coding in different spots, or is it just?
We have to,
Because that was pretty big.
that looks like an error in the.
Just like carryover errors.
In the March. Mm-hmm.
So it might have just pulled it down from the classroom trust. I wonder if it's 348.6. Anyway, I just.
Yeah, we can look at that for sure.
Because I honestly, I don't think we've ever been funded at 757 and 49 for parents and
That'd be
teachers.
nice. I mean, it's a state-of-the-art facility.
My sense is it got pulled down from line 53.
Oh, I see that.
So it might have been
Yeah.
348
Yeah.
instead. Okay.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2023-2024 preliminary budget number 2 as presented.
Make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. I have a motion and a second for the approval of the 2023-2024 preliminary budget number 2. All in favor? That's everyone?
So then the full budget will come in, is it in next month? It is June. Okay.
Yep.
Now we have insurance bid.
We do, we have insurance information. So Carrie, Tom, and I met with several different entities trying to really look hard at our insurance. So we have in the past few years worked with a broker from I just went blank. CBIZ. And this year we reached out to a second broker, and we also reached out to 2 different consortiums, MEUHP and MET, more acronyms, but different consortiums are pooled consortiums of various school districts throughout the state. And so we looked at that too to see how competitive we could be. The benefit of going to a consortium mostly is that they're tiered systems, and so you're guaranteed rate locks to be able to better prepare and plan. So when we got our quote from MEUHP, it was we were gonna see an increase, but we also, then you knew you were on tier 7, and if you were healthy, you could go up a tier, which is gonna save money, and if you were unhealthy, you could never go more than down 1 tier. So you always knew what that percent increase would be to help with budgeting. But it was gonna be about a 7% increase for us overall to go with them. So between brokers, we decided to move and go with UKD, and the districts worked with UKD in the past, and UKD went out pretty aggressively with some bids. So United Healthcare is who we currently have. So they went to bid with United Healthcare, Blue Cross, Aetna, and Cigna. And Cigna didn't turn in a bid. Aetna was 15% over our current price. United Healthcare came in at no increase, but then Blue Cross came in at a 6% below our current rates. So our broker went to work for us, which is what we wanted. And they went back and went to United Healthcare and said, look, you've had Oak Grove for a lot of years. They'd like to stay with you. What can you do to keep their business? Blue Cross was 6 below. So they came back to us with a 3% decrease from this year. They also came back to us with $300 in rewards for wellness activities per staff member per year. And they came to us with a 20% or $20,000 wellness fund to the district to create a staff gym and start to buy some equipment for a staff gym. And the final thing too that they came to us with is a bundle for our dental. And bundling our dental took an additional 2% decrease of our overall premium, which is about a $45,000 savings. And the 3% was about a $78,000 savings. So we're seeing a little over $100,000 savings going with United to stay with similar health plans. We changed a couple of the plans just a little bit. But very pleased with that offer, and very pleased with the fact that we don't have to change health carriers for our staff. That's a large process for staff to have to see who's in their network and who's out of their network for some of their primary doctors, and that they get to visit. But very pleased with UKD and the work that they did to win our business over, and I feel like they came to us with a pretty aggressive offer. So essentially we would go to staff with 5 plans. The district paying 100% of the third plan, which is $685.81 per employee. Then there is an HSA with a higher deductible, that if a staff member chose to take that, the district would pay the difference into their HSA every month. And then we have 2 PPO plans, one at a $1,000 deductible and one at a $3,000 deductible. And then they added a new plan, which is a new plan to the Kansas City area, which is called Surest. And Surest is a no deductible plan. So you pay at rates, out of pocket rates, but you monitor your own spending. So you do have an out of pocket max, so you pay up to your out of pocket max. So if you are young and don't go to the doctor very often at all, this might be a plan. You get an app, and on the app you type in that you need to get an MRI, and it tells you the cost of all the MRIs in 4 or 5 different locations near you. And so you kind of are governing your spending, and you're spending up to your out-of-pocket max. So you do still have co-pays, and you do still have some of the prescription plans that go with it. It's just kind of a different mindset from an HSA that you're looking at. So we will have, UKD will come and be on site for enrollment to help answer questions and help guide staff to which plan that they feel like that is best suitable for them and their needs.
How many plans do you currently have?
4.
So is the Surest, that's the new one?
And we took away a $500 deductible plan for the higher deductible HSA to be able to contribute some.
How does the 685.81 compare to what we paid last year?
It'd be the 3% less.
Mm-hmm. And so then on their bid where it says no cap on the, with no rate cap for the 24 renewal, does that mean that it could go up the 3+?
So one of the options that they came to us with was a 3% decrease with no cap or rate renewal, or to stay equal with a 9.99% cap renewal, meaning that next year they can't go above a 9% increase. But historically, with United Healthcare, over the past 8 years, they've never gone up more than 6 or 7%. So, it's a gamble. Do we want to take the $70,000 savings with the $20,000 wellness to have the 3%, or do we want to take the rate cap and we went with the 3%?
I'm shocked. When you hear the word insurance, you never hear the word decrease.
Right.
Unless they're decreasing your benefits.
Right.
Um,
And with the $20,000 wellness for the district, Jeff, who we're working with Bucati, he was in office and said he knew that United had come in at a 0% increase, but he was gonna go back to him to kind of barter what Blue Cross brought in. And he said, and anything else you can think of? And I said, yeah, we want a staff gym. We need some equipment for a staff gym. And it was just an off-the-cuff statement. He came back with $20,000 for it. So
Awesome.
our plan is to use this room over here and to purchase some, elliptical, bicycle, treadmill, rowing machine, whatever $20,000 we'll purchase. I'm not sure. Because as of right now, negotiating that $20,000 would stay negotiated every year. And just to kind of create just a place for staff to be able to work out.
That's awesome.
Is that,
Nothing fancy, but
they just give us the 20, we spend it, or do we buy and then they reimburse?
they'll give us the 20, but we can't use it on construction and equipment.
With Randy, anytime you hear insurance, she assumes it's gonna be up. not
Exactly.
down, so.
Yeah.
Well, then we hold our breath for next year, but we'll take the win for this year.
Right. Any other questions or comments?
I appreciate your efforts for this. What a blessing this will be for the staff.
Exactly. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2023-2024 insurance bid as presented.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Randy. Is there a second? From Jim. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? It's everyone. Thank you. We have some discussion items.
It is. This is my month for action items. I'm doing all the talking. Okay, so this link that you have is our spreadsheet of, after approving this second preliminary budget, all updated salary schedules for next school year. So just to see them all in one place, we do want to get these published on our website and have them out easily accessible, but we've got our certified teachers list, we've got our paraprofessionals, which are based on entry-level college hours or college degree. We've got our custodian salary schedule, our secretaries, 10-month and 11-month. Our food service, so we do contract with OPA, but during the changeover with OPA, any of the employees at the time were grandfathered in to be our employees, and we still have one remaining. So we still have one salary schedule for one staff. LP and RN salary schedule, maintenance salary schedule, technology, central office staff, our directors, our administrators, and our superintendent, assistant superintendent. So, those just don't get seen very often, but now that they're all in document format, we do want to get those approved so that we can get those published out on our website.
So one of the things we had talked about was adding adding 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is that reflected, or will that come later?
So two different pieces there. So on the certified, we did add 5 years to each column, so that like on bachelor's, column 1, it was frozen at 7 years. So we did add those 5 years on every single column across the whole thing. And then later in my update, I have some information to share with you to see what direction you guys would like me to go to bring back, which would be looking at how many years we could add to current staff who aren't at their total years of service because they weren't able to bring all that in.
Great.
So this is just reflective of the five years to every column. And we also added that across. We added it to paraprofessionals, we added it to custodians, we had a couple directors, admin that were gonna be frozen, so we added those 5 years everywhere it was needed.
Good deal. Long overdue.
You just know, okay. I was gonna ask, I wanna make sure I wasn't missing something. Okay. I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the 2023-2024 salary schedules.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Giovanna and Jason. Motion and a second to approve the salary schedules. All in favor? Second reading. Now we have some discussion items.
We do, and I'm up again. So this was, March ended our quarter three financials. So this is just that quarter three financial reports, our revenues expenditures report, which Shelley and I kind of use it just to monitor where our revenues have come, what they've come in, and what we've spent. So the fifth column, that percent realized, is kind of what we're monitoring. So if we're at the end of third quarter, we should be around 75%. The areas when I went through, anything that's over that 75%, as long as I could justify, like our insurance premium, we pay that once a year, so it's going to be over the 75%. And there are some things we do at the beginning of the year, but general accounts and general supply accounts and salaries, those should be right on track, and that's what we just use to help monitor and make sure we aren't missing something, something's not coded in the right spot, or to make sure that we haven't miscalculated and that we need to do a budget revision to mirror what that should be. But all in all, revenues total, we're at 79.1%. That's the one, we would prefer our revenues to be a little higher than the actual on track of the 75%, but I'd like it to be 100%. But overall, in our expenditures year to date, we were at 65%. So that's a good threshold. We're not over that 75. So that means we're on track what we should be doing. And by the end of the year, we shouldn't have spent everything that we've budgeted. So it's just kind of my temperature gauge, but it's something I like to share with you guys so you can kind of monitor that as well.
Next, we have the legislative update.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and there's 17 days left, fortunately, thank God. But they're gonna be working into, like, there will be hearings last till midnight or 2 a.m. in the morning tonight, and the rest of this week, and probably the remainder of time. I think the thing that jumps at me, right now, on the positive, the budget piece for education is okay. I mean, obviously, we're still using those 2005 formula figures, but they're talking about outside the extra funding, which will help with the transportation, because I think that's gonna stick, that they're gonna fund that. They're talking about possibly more funding for security, SROs, those kinds of things, and those are positive. I think that the what ifs, they're kind of came out of the blue. There was Senate Bill 411 that was initially to prohibit, which basically would punish schools that didn't allow homeschool kids to participate in activities. And if you didn't allow, then you couldn't belong to MSHSAA, which means you couldn't participate in any state or activities. That kind of ballooned, and there were several amendments that were added to it. One of the amendments would require all school districts to go 174 days, which probably hardly anybody does. I think that was probably just a bullet shot at independent school district more than anything else. But there are a lot of school districts that are, if you're in a chartered county, which you have over 30,000 people, you would have to attend school 174 days. Also, in that amendments that would allow school districts to exempt from MSIP and exempt from MAP testing and EOCs and any testing that wasn't federally mandated, which I don't know what will come of that. That's an interesting thing. There's been a lot of talk about House Bill 253, which is Brad Pollitt's open enrollment bill. It came out of Senate committee with no amendments added to it. They anticipate on the Senate floor there could be. It will be heard this week. There's talk of filibustering that and trying to kill it. But then if they lay it over, it could come up at any time and they could throw amendments on it. Of course, it would have to go back through the House if it's not the same bill. But the open enrollment is Missouri Retired Teachers Association sent out a call to action today to contact your senators and voice their opposition. I think I think the number is up to 182 school districts that have signed resolutions as we have, opposing open enrollment. So it will be an interesting thing, and there are numerous other things. The budget, it looks like the library piece, which wouldn't affect school districts, but it will be put back in the Senate, which Cody Smith took out as a retaliatory measure over a lawsuit that the state librarians had. There's some interesting things, and this time frame, it gets scary because you just don't know.
Yeah, has anything been added to the parent bill of rights?
The Parent Bill of Rights is still hanging there too, and that was part of the amendment that was tacked onto this one Senate bill. It'll be interesting how that comes out. Of course, if that parent right, if it gets watered down, but if it comes across, as these guys know, it's a laborious effort. If that passes, and you just don't, you can't get an answer from anybody. You really just don't know. I mean, there's so many things that are and it's just crazy. It's just our lobbyist with the Consolidated School Districts of Greater KC is Steve Carroll. He's a long time. He's been doing that for 29 years, and he was also a legislator himself for 10. I mean, he's way sharp, but he didn't have a crystal ball. And some of the, as a good friend of mine who was a former legislator told me once, you can't make sense of nonsense. And sometimes that's just how it is. So in essence, you just wait and see and hope something turns out good, and hopefully cooler heads prevail. But sometimes crazy heads help us because they fight and nothing gets passed. So like last year. So I don't know.
Lots of books being read on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow they are having hearings about the expansion of pre-K. They're not accepting written testimony, it has to all be in-person testimony, so, there's some folks down there that are talking about that, and that's really looking at how to help districts to go beyond the 4% of the free and reduced lunch, so that's.
Thank you for bringing up the hearing. I find it interesting that the open enrollment bill, not a single student, not a single parent has testified on behalf of that bill.
Because you have to be there. You have 2 minutes, so you have to drive to Jeff's.
Yeah, but still, all the ones that have testified on behalf of it, I think if parents out here and students wanted to do the open enrollment, they'd be there.
Yeah.
I mean, they show up for everything else. They know they don't want to testify because they're opposed to it. So it's frustrating.
Thank you for that. Thank you both for all you do to keep us informed on this.
You're welcome.
Our next regular monthly meeting, May 22nd.
We got admin updates.
Oh, we do have admin
We do.
updates. I almost let you guys get out of here.
They were on first time.
They weren't even gonna say anything.
They need to share all their wonderful things.
Who wants to go first?
We'll let Michelle start.
Go in order.
Our awning was completed over spring break. We have the pour in place that was supposed to be tomorrow. Now it's moved to the end of the week or beginning of next week. Our favorite night of the year is Farm Night, April 27th, and we'll have some live animals out there and a couple tractors, sensory play, various activities. It's our biggest attended family night of the year. We are having a kindergarten celebration, pre-K celebration we don't consider it graduation because in our minds, to be a graduate, there has to be certain requirements, and now it's just age, so it's an end of year celebration for those going to kindergarten, and it's our first year of doing that. And that's gonna be May 4th, and we're hoping to do like a grand reveal of our playground at that time, and because some of our play equipment and stuff hasn't been put out yet until we get the pour and play in place. We are gonna do screenings, and they're completely full for 2 full days of screenings the first week of May. Parents as teachers just did a field trip to the zoo, and we had several families attend, and we have a couple more playgrounds for them before the end of the year. And then today, Miss Jana and Mary Beth toured the Charlie's House in Kansas City, and if you haven't heard of it, they have safety from fire safety to health safety to water safety. I mean, everything that you can think of, they'll give you free things to tether your stuff to the walls. Charlie Horn was a 2-year-old in Kansas City who was killed in 2007 when a dresser fell on him. So the parents have dedicated their time to make this their mission to outreach to other families, and the whole house is designed for them to see different ways to make your home safe and those kind of things. So our parents as teachers really are trying other ways to give resources to our families. And then, I think that's it.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right. Good evening, everyone. April 10th, so Monday after Easter, we had our PD Day, and I just kind of wanted to spend some time telling you about some training that primary teachers went through. We began our day inviting some guest speakers from the RPDC to come lead us in a discussion on number talks. And so Number Talks is kind of the new phenomenon, and we're starting to implement it this year, but we're really going to take over in every one of our classrooms next year. But it is a quick 5 to 10 minutes of obviously math instruction that is led by the students instead of the teacher. So the teacher is the facilitator, but the students are the teachers. So for example, you provide a problem to the students, and the students mentally have to solve that problem mentally without saying anything to a friend, obviously. But then the discussions come, and the kids take turns explaining out loud how did they solve that problem. And then the teacher obviously is the facilitator and writes out the different ways that all the students are explaining how they would solve that math problem. So kids can hear, oh, that how my friend explained it, saying something that I could do next time, or an easier way to solve that problem than how my brain was thinking through that problem. So it's definitely a new way that a lot of school districts around us are starting to implement. It's something that DESE's pushing out as obviously training the PDC, local area trainers to start kind of focusing on. And so we're one of the first schools to actually start implementing it. North Kansas City has been doing it for the last few years, and their MAP scores have risen very greatly after starting this. So we're excited to be starting this with our little ones, even in kindergarten. So it's going to be something fun. And I would love to take some time next year and kind of probably take some videos and bring it into you guys so you can kind of see our kids at work. Today I spent time in a 2nd grade classroom, and they did 3 you're only supposed to do really 1 number talk a day, but they really wanted to show because they've been practicing. It was in Mrs. Vickers' room, so I got to see Bradley. But they did 3 number talks for me, and they're just so proud about listening and being little teachers and discussing how they would solve a pretty intense math problem. So get a lot of problem solvers, and that's what we need to do. So anyway, so we spent a lot of time working with our staff on that day on April 10th. We also, Mr. Huffington brought in Cengage, which is National Geographic. It's just the publisher, to spend some time K-5 going through our new science curriculum with our staff that we'll start implementing next year. And then we finished off the afternoon, the whole district, the Joshua Center. We had a presentation on neurological disorders, mainly students who suffer from ADHD and anxiety, and interventions that our teachers can do for those students. So it was a great day for us, and definitely a worthwhile day for our staff. So fun things coming up. Obviously, it's towards the end of the year. We have field trips coming up. We just did our 1st and 2nd grade music programs last week, which were wonderful. We had a walk night at the track tonight for all of our families to come and walk around the track with us. So we're trying to utilize every minute that we can between now and the end of the year. Promoting summer school, because that'll be starting soon too. And just getting ready for the end of the year. These other principals are going to probably talk a lot about the MAP. And since that's not in my building, we get to kind of do all the other things while they're worried about keeping their buildings quiet and doing all the testing. We get to have a lot of fun. So, all right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, all things MAP at the elementary. So let's just go that direction. We had MAP Spirit Week last week, so we had 4 days of kids dressing up, wearing their pajamas, wearing bright colors. Just a lot of fun to get kids excited about what's ahead. And not worried about what's ahead. So we ended Friday last week with a MAP pep assembly. Haven't had one of those in a while. So we got to bring over the middle school jazz band, and they played for our kids. Our kids were super excited. We had cheers by our staff, and Mrs. Harvey led us into cheers. So super excited about that. MAP testing begins at the elementary tomorrow with our 3rd graders starting off. And as we know, this is their first state assessment, first experience with a state assessment. So our teachers have been spending a lot of time practicing what that looks like, practicing the process of the online tools and all of those pieces, but also practicing just doing their best. And we're just really promoting, just do your best. Give it all you got. So our third graders are testing for the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then they'll be finished, and they're partying on Friday to celebrate that. The next week are our fourth graders. They'll be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then the following week, which is the first week in May, will be our fifth graders. And our fifth graders are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but they have one extra test than our third and fourth graders do. They have the science test. So really trying to push through those MAP testing dates and do some of the upcoming fun things, like to hit on what Laura was talking about. So we have field trips and park days coming up at the end of the school year. Third grade is going to be traveling to the zoo. All of our third graders on the same day going to the zoo. We also have our local fire department has been working with our fourth graders all year long. They've been coming into our classrooms and talking about important things related to safety and how you evacuate and evacuation points. They had 911 operator come and do an assembly for our fourth grade students not too long ago. So our fourth graders will take a trip to the fire department and get to do some exciting activities there at the end of the year. We also have track and field day coming up, which is a big event for us. It'll be over at the track. Coach Bryant, our PE teacher, will be leading that, and we'll be rotating through some fun activities. Hopefully the weather's nice and no rain. So lots of things coming up. Any questions? We're excited. All right.
Thank you.
And she told me I'm excited.
Good evening, guys. I'll just start with a kind of our building focus. Right now, we are really focusing on trying to do student scheduling and also building our master schedule this year with our new school information system. For the first time ever, I'm going to try to auto schedule and do that through that. So we're kind of seeing how that's working. So we spent a day last week working, entering student requests and trying to get the parameters set with that. So we're excited about that. But getting the scheduling obviously is a big piece for us. Also preparing for spring assessment. So this week our sixth grade starts with their MAP testing on Thursday and Friday, and they'll have ELA and math. And then next week on April 25th and 26th, our Algebra 1 students will take the EOC. And then the seventh grade will take ELA and math on April 27th and 28th. And then the last round of MAP testing for our building will be our eighth grade on May 1st through the 3rd, and they will do math, ELA, and science. So they do 3 areas as well. Other things, just end of year activities with planning for our pride trips. Our eighth grade class will also be taking a trip to Lone Jack for the Civil War days there, which is an awesome experience for them. So I know they're looking forward to that. Planning for summer school and trying to get the logistics of our building worked out, and then also just personnel for that and students that will be attending that. And we look forward to that. We already have a very good number of sixth graders, incoming sixth graders, will participate in our sixth grade academy this summer, which we think is a great program for our building and for those kiddos. Some celebrations and activities I want to talk about a little bit. For those that didn't get to see our production of the Trial of the Big Bad Wolf at the middle school, it was outstanding, it was awesome, it was funny, and we had a great turnout. But I wanted to recognize the cast of that production, as well as their sponsors, Megan Howard and Liz England, who did a great job sponsoring those kiddos and getting them excited about that. And they were already asking me if they could do another one this spring, so I told them they'd have to see about doing another one. But it was nice to see those kids get involved in that, and I think that's something we're going to try and continue to do. On April 5th, the fifth graders visit OGMS for building tour scheduling, and then also to familiarize the students with the building. That went really, really well. When they come over on those days, we split them into two groups. Half of them go do a building tour and kind of meet some of the folks within the building, and then the other half stay in the cafeteria and go through an enrollment process and kind of a video and a PowerPoint to talk to them a little bit about that. I think that really helps set their mind to be at ease for those kiddos and their parents. So we really thought that went well, and along with that, we also sent out their enrollment forms, so we now have their classes entered as well. Students, like I said, will be celebrating with their pride trips at the end of the year. The week after spring break, our OGMS track team started competition. They're doing very well. We've already broke a couple of school records and look to probably break a couple more relay records by the end of the season. And they have 5 track meets left, so we definitely think that will happen there. One thing that's also going to happen this year, which is the first year for this, they're going to have a middle school state track meet in Bolivar. So we're excited about that. I think we'll have some kids will be able to go down there and compete. So looking forward to that. And then last, got a band concert coming up April 25th, which will be the last band concert of the year. And then our choir concert will be May 1st. And then last but not least, our 8th grade dance on May 12th. I know all the kids are excited about that, so we're excited about that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bet.
continuing the trend, we are giving EOCs. This week we started today, and next week, Mr. Newman does an excellent job of coordinating our MAP testing for the 2 weeks that we are involved with that. So I appreciate his efforts in helping that run smoothly. Our Stuco decided to do something different with Mr. Oak Grove competition this year. We're actually going to host that during the school day on May 11. We're going to shorten our afternoon classes and have that competition take place in front of the entire student body to try to get some more students involved in that competition. Did I say May 11? May 11 is when that's going to take place. And then our end of the year activities for the couple of new folks that haven't heard these dates up to this point. If you're interested in attending our baccalaureate and scholarship night will take place on May 11, that's Thursday, at 7 o'clock at the New Life Church. Then the very next day, May 12, Friday, we have our senior breakfast, our spring awards program, and that's when we take the senior class to practice for the ceremony. And then, of course, commencement is Saturday, May 13th, 7 o'clock at the Community of Christ Auditorium. And then potentially we have our Missouri Option graduation ceremony set for the following Wednesday, which is May 17th. That takes place in the PAC. So if everybody's calendars will allow, then we would love for you to attend any and all of those events if possible. I don't want to steal any thunder from Mr. Selke since he's here tonight, so I'll let him do the activities report. Always.
Thank you.
Nothing going on in activities.
It's the same, district track, same day, but is it Odessa?
It's at Odessa
Oh,
this
yeah.
year.
Sorry,
It's at
I don't
Buffalo.
know that I explained that. Yeah, we found out that we do not have to travel to Buffalo this year, so we are keeping the 7 o'clock start time for graduation because the district track is just a hop, skip, and a jump to Odessa this year. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Very nice. Just a couple things, like Mr. Salmon said earlier, One Act and Allie Dickey are going to state this weekend at Springfield. We have some soccer and track senior nights are tomorrow at the soccer game versus Clinton. We had to switch and do varsity first at 5. Soccer will go after the varsity game, and then track will go either after the half of the JV game or at halftime of the JV game. Just depends on how much we can play with Clinton's numbers. Baseball senior nights this Friday at home versus Lawson, and that'll be after the varsity game. Again, like Mr. Salmon said earlier, the Scholar Bowl are district champs, and we get to host the quarterfinals versus St. Pius. That falls on Tuesday, so we're going to push the high school band concert back to 8:15 because we're a set time for Scholar Bowl. It's best of 3 versus St. Pius. That would start at 5, 6, and 7, potentially ending around 8. So push the high school part of that concert night back a little bit. And then Missouri Wrestling Coaches Association came up with the Academic All-American Award this past year. And Coach Scully told me that we had 8 of those kids earn those honors. So a lot of things going on. Spring rolls really, really fast, so really just preparing for districts right now, trying to get our dates set for baseball and soccer and that kind of thing. So getting all that requirements into MSHA right now. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Thank you for those updates. I appreciate that.
Last thing I have is just to show you these steps real quick. So this is just the information that I put together to show what we could do as a district on the salary schedule. So this is just a list of, and I blacked out staff names for confidentiality, but this is how many staff members we have in district that aren't paid. There's 2 pages, yeah. So one page should say 3 steps on the right, and then the other page should show 5 steps. There's 2 different options there. So these are all the staff that aren't paid right now based on their career years of service. So you can see what column they're on now, what step they are, how long they've been in Oak Grove, how long they've been a teacher in the state of Missouri, and how long they've been a career educator, and then what their amount is. So the first page is 3 steps. So if we gave them 3 steps into from what they're currently making to try to catch them up with their career years of service, what would that cost us? So in the top right hand, it would cost us, 3 steps would cost the district $49,750. If we looked at 5 steps, and just to try to fill those gaps, 5 steps would be $73,500. So those are just kind of a couple of options, and obviously we could do scenario A through Z to look at all of that, but I would like us to come up with a plan on how we want to close that gap. So, you know, for example, as we're hiring teachers right now, we've had some come in and right now, board policy says the superintendent's discretion how many years service we allow them in. Standard practice has been 10 years. We've allowed them to bring in 10 so they could start with us on step 11. But, you know, I think that can hurt us as a district in recruitment. So if we have a very veteran teacher that comes in and interviews with us and interviews with the neighboring district, but gets paid more in a neighboring district or can bring in more years of service, it's halting us from getting that best candidate. And I feel like sometimes it may make us look at first-year teachers, which there's nothing wrong with hiring first year, but we want to be able to empower our principals to hire the best candidate. And sometimes money has to talk for that. So, and then on the other side of it, I think it's a recruitment piece too, besides a retention piece, besides recruitment. We want to be able to hire in with all those years of service, but I think it's retention too. If we have teachers who are starting to question, maybe I need to leave Oak Grove, maybe I need to go towards the city my last few years, to make a little bit more money, if they can see that, well, but if I stay, each year the district's gonna give me 3 of my years back or 5 of my years back, in the next few years, I'll be, you know, and getting paid or getting compensated for my total years in my career. So, I do think that it's something that we wanna look at, as we solidify that budget, before we solidify it, for the whole year, if it's something we wanna address this year. I do think it's something we want to look at. And we do have 2 different pieces to look at too. We have state of Missouri, we also have career. So majority of our teachers on this are in the state, their state and their career years of service are the same. But we do have a few teachers who taught their first few years in a different state. So my personal opinion is until Missouri's ranking in the top, both, yeah, I mean, from pay, from performance, from everything, I don't know that we can tell somebody that decides to come from another state that their years there weren't worthy of Missouri. So I do think it's there's two different sections there. I think if we're gonna give years of service, it's just years of service. To me, it doesn't matter what state that's in. DESE does monitor career ladder. For career ladder, DESE still says that they have to have 2 years to be eligible, 2 years in Missouri.
So help me with this chart. So I'm on the 5 steps, so the first one on there, it says that they're on step 10, they've been here 10.
So the years that don't have any numbers there, those are teachers that were affected by the frozen, so I didn't calculate those in.
Okay.
So if they don't have a number by them in the adjusted amount or the difference, those were teachers that weren't at their years of service because of being frozen.
Okay.
And being frozen is gonna help. So I removed them from this calculation.
Okay.
So these numbers in this calculation is just if they weren't able to bring in all their years of service. So like that first teacher is on step 10, been at Oak Grove 10 years, but in the state 17. But when they came, they were able to come in at year 7, but they probably sat there for a while. Now they just recently got to go to step 10 because we had it.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And then, these numbers, these adjusted amounts, is that based on the new salary scale?
Yes. So it's already this year's salary scope, which is 1 step.
So to go up, to add the 5 steps, it's only gonna cost us $73,500.
And really that's 4 steps.
Right,
Because they already got 1.
Okay.
Because we already approved 1 plus 4 more. So, so really that's just 4 steps. If we wanted to look 5, it'd be a little, because we already did approve 1. We moved them over.
But I mean, we're talking, the difference between 3 and 5 is, it's less than $25,000.
Right.
So, well, I guess you're just asking for direction. I'd say go as far as, I mean, that number is not scary at all to me. I mean.
Yeah, I was surprised. I guess I thought it would have been a little bit more, but fixing fixing the freeze on the salary scale did already help a lot of that.
Well, I think this is just another step of fixing problems that have been in our teacher pay for years.
Yeah. Yeah. I
For
mean,
everything we can afford.
that's right. Well, and I mean, 73,000,
5 cents.
you can
Yeah.
figure that, I mean, that's if we got to this point next year and we were over budget, we could figure out 73,000. Now, if it's 700,000, that's a
Right.
different story.
Right. So if that's the direction, then I will probably come back next month with an approval of this, so Carrie can start with, some contracts, because it'll be contract amendments for all of this. Then I'll recalculate, make sure that my steps are all accurate, but the 5 keeps us consistent with where we added 5 years on all of those frozen steps as well. So we'll reconfigure and, maybe not a budget amendment, we might save that for June, but if the board approves it, then, we can move forward with the contracts. Okay.
Agreed.
Alright.
Anything else on this one?
No, that's all.
Our next regular monthly meeting will be May 22nd, 6 p.m. closed. If nothing else on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn back to closed session. So we can finish up executive session. Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Jason. All in favor? Thank you, everyone, for being here. Appreciate it.
Take a